Hi, I'm back. Let's do this. 10 worst bands of all time. Just like best bands and albums of all time, this can be interchangeable on any given day. Another band might be my most hated band. And I'm going to focus on bands, by the way. I'm not going to do albums. I just feel like there are bands that make music that I don't want to listen to. So it's not like I can pick a certain album they've done and say, oh, well, that album sucks worse than the rest of them, even though this band sucks every time. These are the bands that just piss me off in general. they they're disingenuous, they're inauthentic, they're dishonest, they're clearly ripping off other bands. They don't really seem to have any shame about it, and they take themselves really seriously. These are all the things that equate to a band really sucking hard. And I'm going to equate some of this too before I get into it. I want to talk about the old adage that 50 million Elvis Presley fans can't be wrong. Do you know that old saying? There was an album, I think it's 50 million. There's an album by Elvis Presley. It's called 50 Million Elvis Fans Can't Be Wrong. And I think it was a compilation, but basically back in the 70s or whenever that album came out, the title suggested that, well, this many people like Elvis Presley, so he must be brilliant. When it comes to bands that suck, I'm going to employ this idea that the 50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong adage is absolute bullshit. Just because a band has a lot of fans doesn't mean anything other than there are a lot of people with extremely questionable taste. That's all it proves. It doesn't prove a goddamn thing. So whenever I see that argument, someone will say, well, they're the biggest star in the world, like Taylor Swift right now. Well, she's the biggest star in the world. I mean, she must be brilliant. No, the two things don't equate with each other. They are mutually exclusive. They can be. Sometimes it's true, like the Beatles. Everybody loves the Beatles, and for very good reason. They're a brilliant band. They always will be. But just because a lot of people like an artist doesn't mean shit. It just proves that a lot of people have really shitty taste. So I will refer to the 50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong adage with some of these bands because I think that that fits into my parameter of what makes a band bad. And I'm not going to talk about certain albums because bands that suck put out nothing but shit. I'm not going to focus on one album. Well, this band sucks, but this album sucks more than the rest of them. No, some bands just suck and all their albums are shit. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on is a band. 10 bands or artists, whatever. These are bands, artists, whatever, that I think are absolute dog shit. They have nothing to offer the world. They're inauthentic. They're dishonest. They're obnoxious. They have no songwriting ability. And they sell a lot of records because they appeal to the lowest possible hanging fruit, the knuckle draggers of the world. And these are bands too where when you hear people talk about them, people that go and see them live, people that buy their records, people that actively listen to them, they can't really ever come up with a decent reason why they like them. It's always some stupid surface level bad reason like, well, it was the 90s. I love 90s music. No, you don't. No, you don't. There are a couple bands in this list that fall into this category, and I'll talk about them. But I can't stand these arguments. They drive me nuts. Well, they existed in the 90s. I mean, I'm a big 90s fan. Bullshit. If I played you any of the 90s music that I like, you've never even heard of it before. Let's sit you down and play a Black Dog album. Or, any random electronic music that came out. I guarantee you're not going to like that if you like this band from the 90s. You know what I'm trying to say? So these are all the different parameters that I have personally. Again, these are just opinions, okay? And I'm going to try to sprinkle in, as I do with all of my videos, I'm going to try to sprinkle in some comedy because I always try to make people laugh. And it is what it is. You can't take yourself all that seriously when you watch my channel. And that's a big reason why I don't like certain bands too. They don't seem to have a sense of humor, which drives me nuts. Like you won't see me picking on the big overt pop stars like Lady Gaga or whatever. Like I kind of respect those people because they are just having fun. Their music is shit, sure, but it's like the Spice Girls, like their music's shit, but they're having fun, they're having a laugh, and I think that's important. If you have a sense of humor, I'm not going to put you on this list, but that's a big reason why I hate the following 10 bands is they just don't I mean most of them don't seem to have much of a sense of humor. And also the other factor is like I'm looking at my list of bands right here. I have them pulled up in front of me. Some of them just suck. Like they can't even play their fucking instruments. But they're celebrated. Like a lot of mediocrity these days. Mediocrity is celebrated for one reason or another, and I'll try to get into that. So I'm doing my 10. This is an opinion. This is one man's opinion, just like the list of 100 albums of my favorite albums that I just put out. And by the way, thank you so much to those of you who watched both of my top 50 albums videos and you pointed out things that I was forgetting or I was leaving out. Thank you oh so fucking much. I sit here like an idiot listing 100 albums for you morons. And of course, there's always a couple of people that point out shit that I'm forgetting. Or people, this is what I love. When I do my opinion videos, I can look at the statistics and the analytics and it will show me the percentage of people who have liked my video and who have disliked my video. People disliked. I had I had more dislikes on my opinion videos than I have on most of my other videos. I love that. It cracks me up. It's like this is someone's opinion. Well, you don't agree with me, so I'm thumbing you down. Well done. Right. Because I don't like the Beatles. The Beatles Sgt. Pepper isn't on my 100 list. Because Fleetwood Mac Rumors isn't on my list. Clash, Combat Rock, A London Calling isn't on my list. Because Led Zeppelin's not on my list. Fuck off. Go make your own goddamn list. You pieces of turd. Jesus, man. Go make your own fucking list. Oh, you don't have Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon on your list. Fuck off, man. This is my opinion. Jesus Christ, I swear, there's checklists in every facet of any opinionated discourse on any level now. If you're not checking off boxes and people they can't wait. This is my number one pet peeve on my channel. People cannot wait to point out shit you missed. I could do a video that was 28 days long straight. 24/7, and maybe I'll do that one day. 24/7 for a month straight. I could recite facts about a band. And I'd still leave something out, and that's the one thing someone would notice. There would be 500 hours of content, and there'd be 1 second of one piece of the content where I left something out, and that's what someone would focus on. I fucking hate you if you do that. If you sit and watch everything that I create and you point out one thing that you think I should have included in my list, I hate you. Fuck off. God damn, what a pet peeve. You guys, I sometimes hate my audience. I'm in the unique position of loving and intensely hating the people that watch my channel. Welcome to Occasional Feel Good, where I love and equally hate you. You guys are fucking annoying sometimes. I just want to slap you, paddle your shitty little bottoms, and kick your asses out the fucking door. Jesus. All right, speaking of which, speaking of shitty bottoms and horrible taste and all that other crap, see, I need to work myself up when I'm talking about these bands because they are terrible. I'm looking at my list right now and my blood is boiling for various reasons. But yeah, my audience, man, you guys are fucking brutal. You guys are just obnoxious. And listen, You guys want to make little tiny quips and comments about little tiny infinitesimal things I'm forgetting. Trust me, the last fucking thing you want is my complete and undivided attention. I will give it to you if you keep being obnoxious and annoying me. One of these days, I'm not going to kick you off. I'm going to keep you on here and I'm going to shine a spotlight on you where my other watchers will attack because my watchers will do that. My devoted following is pretty defensive of me. If you choose to fuck with me or get on my nerves and I tell them to do something, they probably will. Not that I do that, but seriously, just shut up. I'll say it every time. Shut the fuck up. Do you understand why you're being annoying? Some poor bastard just put an hour of his time making this stupid list that you guys have been asking for, and I give it to you, and then you fucking complain. There's no making you guys happy, man. I swear to Christ. Jesus. All right. There's a bit of a rant for you. You guys love my ranting, and there you go. Go fuck yourselves. How about that? There's a rant. People are busily thumbing down my video. Good. Thumb it down. I'm looking for 0% approval rate on this video. 0. Just keep thumbing me down. Good. I welcome it. Bring it on. All right, I've been ranting for over 10 minutes, so I know some of you are loving this. I could go on all day. Sometimes I look at my comments sometimes, I'm just like, why do I bother reading these? God, people are annoying. You don't agree with everything I agree with, so I must thumb you down and point out the one tiny little thing that you left out. How could you leave this band out? How could you leave that album out? I think this, so why don't you think this? This is my channel, man. This is my opinion. Jesus. Start your own shit. Seriously. God, you guys are obnoxious. All right. 10 speaking of being obnoxious, here we go. You wanted it and I deliver it. And you guys will hate this video. Of course you will. I'm giving you what you want and then you're going to bitch and moan about it. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. 10 worst bands. I'm looking at this list. I'm just like, oh my God, where do I even start? All right. These aren't really ranked. These aren't ranked. I'm just going to throw them out there. I feel like some of these I hate. I hate more than others. And most of these I think are pretty obvious. You guys are going to be like, oh yeah, they suck. Number 1 on my list is Weezer. Weezer. Could a band get any more annoying than Weezer? And I'm going to default to fans here too. What makes a lot of these bands so shitty are their fans. Because you have to remember, these bands are popular because dipshits buy these records. They think they're good. There are people out there who think this shit's really awesome. They can't wait to go buy the next Weezer album. So before you completely lay all of the blame, 100% of the blame on the band, remember that there are people that buy this shit. It's like people who vote for politicians. You can hate the politician all you want, but keep in mind, people voted for this dipshit. And it's the same with Weezer. This band's pretty goddamn, I think, they're still popular, right? Weezer is terrible. They are, to me, when I think of the 90s and I think of bands that annoyed me more than any band, it might be Weezer. There are a couple of others in here that are close and maybe interchangeable. And in fact, as I look at my list, most of these are from the 90s. So Weezer is way up there. That Rivers Cuomo guy, like I feel like he started this whole whiny, ironic, emo rock bullshit that still lives and breathes today. He attracts that kind of person, the fan who likes Weezer. You know, it's ironic, it's funny. What's that fucking song, Undone, the sweater song? You have no idea how big this song was back in the 90s. It was horrible. Terrible. Weezer is, I remember too, like, there's this whole, I remember reading an interview with Weezer at some point, and Rivers Cuomo went back to school. He went to Harvard or something, and he was talking about how he was being abstinent. He was abstaining from sex while he was in school because it was a distraction. Oh, okay. What are we supposed to respect that? Are we supposed to, I don't know, like why would you throw that into the public space? You're keeping your dick in your pants while you go to school. That's precisely when you should be fucking, but okay. Rivers Cuomo comes off to me as like one of the worst pretentious douchebags of all time. And he announces he's going back to school and he's abstaining from sex. To me, that just makes you a bigger asshole. You're a fucking rock star. You go back to school. You probably have all of this college pussy ready to throw itself at you. And you casually announce, I'm not fucking anyone. Makes you a bigger asshole, if you ask me. Makes your band even worse. Every time I look at Rivers Cuomo and look at a Weezer album, I want to vomit. And then spit on the vomit. And then piss on the spit. And then shit on the piss. And then fart on the shit. And then laugh at my fart. It's a Mr. Show reference, by the way. Weezer's terrible. They're one of the worst bands of all time. Rivers Cuomo is a serious douchebag. Fuck him. Fuck all of their albums. And fuck the people that buy the music. Because they're the reason that these bands still exist. Just because people think this shit's awesome. Oh, it's ironic. Oh, don't you see? It's ironic music. Shut up. Ironic. It's not even funny. It is possible to be funny and be ironic and still be a good band. Like, I think a band that I personally like, I haven't liked anything they've done recently, but I do like them in general, is They Might Be Giants. That's an example of a band that does humor and irony well, but also can write good songs. Like, I like They Might Be Giants. That's the difference. Weezer wouldn't know how to be witty and funny if they fucking tried. They just suck. I mean, what are their influences? Someone taking a dump? Is that how they get their fucking influence? The sound of shit exiting someone's asshole? That's what I hear when I hear Weezer. It's terrible. It's shit. Fuck this band. And fuck the people that buy the records. There's one exception, and this is why I feel like the rest of these bands I hate even more. One exception, and out of all these bands I'm looking at, this is the one exception. Weezer has one great song, and I will give this to them. Island in the Sun. It's a fucking great song. I don't know what happened. They just decided to write a really cool song. It's got a really funny video. You should go check out the video. I think Spike Jonze directed it. It's just a video of them throwing monkeys in the air. It's pretty funny, but it's a great song. I will give that to Weezer. No one was more shocked than me when I saw Weezer made a good song. Other than Island in the Sun, enough with Weezer. I can't do it. And you guys are asking me, like, what my 10 least favorite bands are, and Weezer is way up there, man. Horrible. I think of, like, in the 90s when I was going through my whole rave thing and electronic thing, and I was into the music I was into, basically just anything that was good. I mean, you have no idea how much people loved Weezer. You couldn't go into a record store, at least here in the Portland area, you couldn't go into a record store without someone blaring Weezer. It was everywhere. You couldn't get away from it. So maybe that's part of my hatred for this band, but I can't stand them. I don't think they're funny. I don't think they're witty. None of that shit. So fuck Weezer. They're the first one. This is going to be a lengthy video, as you can tell. I've got myself all worked up. Number 2, Bush. Another 90s ragtag team of douchebags. Bush. What's the singer's name? Gavin Rossdale or something? He married the No Doubt chick. I forget her name. No Doubt. There's another shit band. Fuck. Now I wish I could alter the No Doubt. Ooh. Horrible. God, I didn't put them on this list. I should have, maybe. I mean, they equate with any of these other bands that suck, so no doubt it's terrible. What's the Gwen Stefani? Yeah. Ugh. Blah, ugh. No thanks. Anyway, Bush. Yeah, you remember Bush? Breathe in, breathe out. Yeah. I'm having a hard time breathing in, breathing out, listening to this shit because it stinks. The stench of your music is filling up my lungs, making it burn. I can't breathe anymore. Horrible. Bush. And they're one of two bands, the next band I'm going to talk about, they're one of two bands that just openly ripped off Nirvana and didn't give a shit who knew. They didn't even try to hide it. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of bands that follow in Nirvana's wake. Bush arguably is the worst. The next band, well, they might be worse. I don't know. But Bush, just like a band that didn't seem to have much of a sense of humor. Maybe they do, but they didn't carry it forward in their interviews or anything. Their music was self-important, garbage, rubbish, bullshit music. It was terrible. Awful stuff. So yeah, Bush, another 90s band. If I never heard them again, it would be fine. No thanks on Bush. This leads me to my next band, The Offspring. Oh my God. Hate The Offspring and their fans. This is one of those bands recently, in the last year. I get Offspring is on tour. I don't know when they started the tour. Maybe it was last year, maybe it's recently. I don't know. But I was talking to somebody recently, and he it was a very short-lived job I had. One of the reasons, there were many reasons I had to leave, but one of my coworkers was telling me that he and his wife were going to The Offspring. And he asked, and I was like, yeah, okay, Offspring, sure, yeah, have fun. I was keeping my mouth shut. It's a professional environment. The last thing I really want to do is go off like I'm going off right now. And by the way, this is why I go off on my channel, is because I want to do this in the real world in front of people, but I don't. But I do it here. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it, as I openly hate everybody on my channel. Anyway, back to The Offspring. He was telling me, we're going to see The Offspring, and he was telling me like tickets were like $150 to go see the fucking Offspring, or $200 to see this band. To see any band for that amount of money is fucking crazy to me. But The Offspring? Are you trying to torture yourself? Anyway, I was like, yeah, okay, well, have fun. And of course, I was dreading it. I was like, please don't ask me what I think of The Offspring. Please don't ask me what I think of The Offspring. Because when people ask me what I think of something, my gut reaction is to be honest. Not like my level of honesty right now, but even in a professional environment, I will give an honest opinion in the most professional manner I can. So he asked me what I thought of The Offspring, and I kind of chuckled, and I was like, well, they're not for me. But I'm glad that you enjoy them. You know, it's a diplomatic, professional answer, I think. So I gave him that answer, and of course, when you respond like that, they want to know why. How many times have you gone through this, guys? Whether it's at school or it's on a date. Oh yeah, this has happened to me on dates many times. The woman you're with she likes a band that's so fucking frighteningly awful, and she's going on and on about it, and then she asks you what you think, and you're looking at her like, oh shit. If I'm honest about this, I'm never going to see this woman again. But damn, she's asking me, and I have to be honest. But he wouldn't leave it alone. He kept needling me. What do you think of The Offspring? And I said, let me put it this way. You couldn't pay me to go watch The Offspring. I'll leave it at that. And of course, as soon as I said that, he was like, oh, well, it's the 90s. Me and my wife have to go watch it because they're from the 90s. I mean, so what? The fuck difference does that make? You have to go see a band from the 90s? I understand what people are saying. Like in his world, there are only 10 bands that exist in the 90s. Fucking Offspring, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Metallica. As far as he knows, there may be a dozen bands that existed in the whole of the 90s. So I get. Meanwhile, he was telling me he listened to everything. I like everything. You're right, I'm sure you do. That's why you're paying $200 to go see the fucking Offspring. 50 million Elvis fans can be wrong. I'm going back to that well right now. There are a lot of Offspring fans out there. That means that there are a lot of assholes with shitty taste. Yep. Including the guy I worked with. It's the 90s! Boy, that's some fucking riveting argument. It's from the 90s. Whew. Man, do you see why I'm annoyed? Speaking of being annoyed, I'm going to move to the next band here. Creed! Do you remember Creed? I thought you did. They are so easy to hate. I feel like they probably are on most lists of pure loin hatred of the epitome of douchebaggery in music. The look, the album covers, the attitudes, the complete and utter lack of sense of humor, the complete lack of ability to play your instruments, a complete lack to write a compelling song. They had it all. And you know what else they had? They had a bunch of fans. 50 million Elvis fans can be wrong. Go look at Creed. People love this band. People loved this band. They probably still do. They're not around anymore, I don't think. Maybe they are. Creed. The ultimate in asshole douchebaggery. Some of the worst shit you could ever imagine. Horrible music. Again, the whole look, they just were trying to rob. They were trying to... this was their hybrid idea. They were going to take grunge music and like mix it with like Christian music. I think. Boy, you're salivating now, right? Let's take grunge and marry it with Christian music, with Christian rock, because that's what we want, right? Could you take two more snooze-worthy, boring, fucking idiotic, inbred styles of music and marry them together? Is it possible? I don't think it is. Creed did it, though, and they had a lot of fans. 50 million Elvis fans. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't prove a goddamn thing. Creed, I give you Creed. Next time you say some stupid shit like, well, a lot of people liked them, I give you Creed. Fuck your a lot of people like them, so they must be a good argument. Absolute toss bullshit. Okay? Or as you Brits would say, bollocks. It's absolute nonsense, all right? Creed. Oh my God. I remember seeing that guy sing. I just wanted to fucking take him by that long whip of hair of his and bring him to his knees and slap the shit out of him. And then kick him off the edge of the world so he can languish in limbo for the rest of his life. Fuck that guy. Creed? Are you serious? There's somebody in this audience watching this now who bought a Creed album at some point in the past. You should be ashamed of yourselves. What in the hell are you thinking? All right? That's all I have to say. Next band. I've done 4. Wow, I'm almost at a half an hour, too. Number 5, Limp Bizkit. Remember Fred Durst, that backwards baseball cap wearing motherfucker? How the world was in love with him? Oh, and you Europeans, don't act all fucking high and mighty. You guys loved Limp Bizkit, too. It wasn't just us Americans. You dipshits loved him too. Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit had a huge audience. Elvis, 50 million Elvis fans. I'm going back to that well. I will continue to go back to that. I mean, seriously, can you think of a worse band, a bigger douche than Fred Durst, other than the Creed guy? This is low-hanging fruit, I know, but come on. I think most people might be in agreement that Limp Bizkit, it's not even music. And I think there's a small wedge of me that thinks, okay, well, good for Fred Durst. I guess he was smart enough to understand how he appeals to the lowest common denominator. Because again, people buy this shit. They love Limp Bizkit. And I think most of these bands, I think that's what they're truly good at. They're not good at making music. They're good at pandering. They're good at finding a nugget of the audience that has a really hard time making solid choices in life in general. And they pander to that audience. And so they have this huge following because let's face it, there are millions of people out there who are really bad, who have really bad taste. And so what better world for bands like Limp Bizkit to thrive and proliferate in than our current world? Dipshits with money to burn in their pocket. Yeah, Limp Bizkit's audience. Thus, Fred Durst has been born. They're terrible. And we all know it. Limp Bizkit's fucking horrible. And shame on the world for falling in love with this goof who can't even pull his fucking pants up. You're a white guy, dude. Pull your goddamn pants up. And put your hat on the right way. You and your soul patch. Mr. Tough Guy over here, Fred Durst. Oh my God. Again, people loved this band. And you wonder why the entire world is turning into Beverly Hillbillies lately. Well, there's so many inbred monsters wandering the earth, making music and making careers and money because people celebrate them. You wonder. People like Fred Durst. There are actual human beings out there who can't wait to dig into their pockets and throw their money down on the counter to buy records from Fred Durst. I can't wait to go get that Fred Durst album. He speaks to me. He's got important things to say. I sure like that new tattoo he got on his left testicle. This is the world we're in. 50 million Elvis fans, okay? Number 6, Train. Maybe Train doesn't exist outside the United States, and good. They shouldn't. Train, I wouldn't even know of Train had I not been a huge fan of Howard Stern. I used to be a huge fan of Howard Stern. For years I was a fan of Howard Stern. I didn't miss a single show. From the mid-90s up until 5 or 6 years ago, I listened to every fucking show Howard Stern ever did. Howard Stern's terrible now. He's awful. He's a shell of his former self. He has completely disregarded and betrayed his audience. He is a complete shill, hack piece of garbage now, unfunny garbage, which is heartbreaking because Howard Stern, he's up there with David Letterman in terms of like people who made a huge difference in the world of satirical comedy. Like I think it's Letterman and Howard Stern. And no one can ever take that away from Howard Stern. But anyway, one of Howard Stern's favorite bands is Train. And that's how I'm aware of them. If you want some really bad music made by extreme, insufferable douchebags, go listen to Train. It's the worst shit you could ever hear. These guys don't know how to play their instruments. Their lyrics are bad. Their music is like some bizarre, rotten Frankenstein of different types of music. Like you can tell that they listen to certain bands and then they try to copy them and then they paste it all together. And it's all sung with that whiny, high-pitched emo rock sound. It's fucking horrible. And they're one of Howard Stern's favorite bands. One of the biggest indicators why Howard Stern sucks now. Anyway, I know I got out on a Howard Stern thing there, but this is the only way I know this band. But through Howard's show, I have learned that, yeah, Train is terrible. Really, really bad stuff. So I would not recommend Train whatsoever. They're terrible. I forget the singer's name, Moynihan, or I don't know. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. But they are just the epitome of like white dude, enabled, skinny, middle-aged, skinny jean wearing, privileged. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the words, but it's the epitome of like spoiled snowflake, privileged kind of rock. It's like the worst. It's had all soul bled right out of it. Listening to Train is really hard to do. The only reason I listen to them is because of Howard. And boy, Howard, shame on you for liking shit like this. They're terrible. All right, moving on. What am I at now? Seven? Seven. Crash Test Dummies. Remember these idiots? Go, if you don't know who I'm talking about, go YouTube Crash Test Dummies. This, maybe, arguably, they are responsible for the worst song that's ever been written in human history. And it was a big hit. Huge hit. 50 million Elvis fans. That's right. One of the worst songs in recorded history. And it was a massive hit. People lined up. They couldn't wait to buy this shit. They thought it was funny. They thought it was goofy. They didn't think it was funny. They didn't think it was goofy. They probably thought it was awesome. This is a band who's completely unaware of how bad they are. They can't write songs. They can't play their instruments, and they were celebrated. Why would they not keep making albums if they're making all this money? This is the ultimate cynicism of the record company. They will look at a band, they'll look at the way they look, they'll look at how they come off. They won't care if the band knows what they're doing or not, if there's a sense of humor or any sense of irony in the music. They don't give a shit. If it sells, and they're going to put it out there, and people are going to buy it. If it's popular, people will buy it. The people who buy it don't even care if it's really that good. They just fucking buy it because everyone else is listening to it. And Crash Test Dummies is a great example of this, in my opinion. They are that kind of band that really existed in the 90s more than any other decade, where you just put a display up in your record store and humans would walk in like the sheep zombies they are, and they'd say, well, there's a whole wall of this Crash Test Dummies album. I guess I better buy it because I'm missing out. FOMO. FOMO. They pull out their wallet. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's like a fucking reflex. It's an involuntary action. They just go to their wallet, they pull it out, they grab the Crash Test Dummy album, they fucking throw their money down on the table, and they go back to their car. I just bought one of the most popular albums of the day. I can't wait to listen to it. Human beings are fucking retarded. Do you understand? And no more so do I need to illustrate this than the Crash Test fucking Dummies. They got one thing right. They're fucking dummies. Maybe they should have taken the crash test part out. At least they would have had a clue as to how bad they were. Have you heard the new Dummies song? It's total bullshit, but at least they know they're dummies. I mean, at least there would have been that. Crash Test Dummies. Shame on you if you ever bought that album. The fuck is wrong with you? Number 8. And boy, this is a new band. A friend of mine asked me, what was it, a couple years ago? 2 or 3 years ago, I got a text from a friend of mine. He's got kids. His kids listen to this band. He texted me, do you like Imagine Dragons? I was like, I've never heard of them. And goddamn my friend for introducing me to this band. I've given him shit about it ever since, but he asked me if I liked them. It's that moment where you've had a friend for decades and you think you understand each other, but then he asks you, what he should have said was, How fucking awful are the Imagine Dragons? But he didn't say that. He said, what did he say? Do you like Imagine Dragons? Or have you heard of Imagine Dragons? Opening up the idea that I maybe could possibly like them. Anyway, I checked him out and I was like, oh shit, this is one of the worst bands I've ever seen. Now, does this band have a sense of humor? Do they understand they suck? I'm not sure. All I know is that it's some of the worst music I've ever heard in my life. And the dude, the singer, is maybe the biggest douchebag I've ever seen in my life. 50 million Elvis fans. This guy runs around without his shirt on. And I love this too. I'm going to sidetrack here. I love it when these bands, they get all buffed up, they get all swole up and they're pumped up and they got muscles on top of muscles and they have 8-packs and 10-packs and 12-packs on their chest and their stomach. Every fucking muscle is tight. They take their shirt off, they're running around in their underpants, and that makes them an artist. No, it doesn't. Anybody can sit there like a fucking meathead if they have the money, the means, and the time to work on themselves and be self-absorbed 24/7. Anybody can do this. Anybody can look great. It doesn't take one artistic bone in your body to be buff, to have a great body, to be well-toned, to have perfect tits, to have a beautiful ass. It takes zero amount of talent. It takes a lot of self-absorption. This is evidence that the singer for Imagine Dragons arguably is the biggest douchebag working in music today. Put your fucking shirt on, dude. It doesn't make you an artist running around wearing glittery outfits with your shirt off. You're running around like a fucking cunt because you work on yourself all day long, way more than you work on your music. It's obvious that that's true. You prance around with your shirt off, appealing to the lowest common denominator, and you go home and you sleep well at night, knowing that you just robbed people of however many dollars they had to pay to go see your shit show and buy your pissy album. Being perfect looking and being an artist are completely mutually exclusive. They have nothing to do with each other. It's a personal thing with me, I guess. It's just an opinion, obviously, but I can't stand it when people, they work on their bodies all day and they look awesome, and then they go out on stage and humans are trained to be attracted to one thing, someone looking great, and the fact that they can't perform a song or they have no artistic bones in their body makes no difference. It doesn't make any difference at all. And right now, in 2025, Imagine Dragons is the picturesque version of this. It's a bunch of talentless fuckheads running around without their clothes on. And by the way, the music's fucking awful. I mean, they're the whole package when it comes to obnoxious. They do that. This big dumb fucking muscle-headed white guy thinks he's a rapper too. You know, he does that thing where he's like rapping and he's got his shirt off and he's looking all hot and sexy for the audience, and then they do that thing with the vocalization where they slow the the tone of the vocals down. He's singing and all of a sudden it goes really, really low and then back up. That's the kind of shit this music is. I guess I can see 9 or 10-year-olds being really into this band. But there are plenty of adults that get into this shit. Imagine Dragons is really the 2025 version of bands like the Offspring and Bush and shit like that. It's a bunch of people who don't give a flying fuck about music, really. They just want to make music, they want to make some money, and they want to get off the stage and never come back. I have to think that there's at least a tiny, tiny little part of these bands that know that they're terrible. They're like the Dane Cook. Like Dane Cook is to comedy what Imagine Dragons is to music. 50 million Elvis fans. Huge audiences. By the way, I want to repeat this. I want to reiterate this. Those are the people you need to be scared of. The people that buy this shit. It's like in politics. Should you be scared of your leader, or should you be more scared of the people that voted the leader in? I think it's the latter. You need to be more concerned about your neighbors who are voting for these people, who are buying these albums, who are wanting this shit in their lives. There is an extreme lack of taste. Elvis Presley would agree. Number 9. And I'm almost done. Thank Christ I'm almost done with this list. Number 9. Cake. Really? Cake? I know people that I love well, not anymore. I've known people that love and respect people or bands like Cake. It's that moment where you're like, God, I'm really attracted to this person. I really love this person. I have a lot of deep feelings for this person, but they like cake. What's going on here? Something's off. I need to be on my guard now. Cake. You know you know the type of person that's attracted to bands like Cake. You know who they are. People that just don't really like music, but they accept, they want to, these bands scratch an itch for these people. And the vast majority of us, they see these bands for the shit that they are, but then there's like this pretty sizable fan base that hears this music and they're amused by it. My theory on bands like Cake is that they're terrible. On some level, they know they're terrible, but I think a lot of people want to forget about the reality of the world, and so they go to this music that's so blatantly bad. It's like it's that irony factor. I think a lot of people like bands and music because it's bad. It makes them feel like they're part of a group. It's like a little cult. I think of Cake fans as a total cult. Like I don't know that they even necessarily love the music, but Cake has a very dedicated following. And these followers will love these bands. They can't really explain why, not that they should. If you like a band, then why explain it? But most of us, if we like a band, we can explain why. I mean, that's all I ever do with my channel. But with Cake fans, they can never really do it. Well, I don't know. There's no reason for it. I think people like bands like Cake because they just have given up on the fucking world. They don't want to know. Like to them, it's more of a social movement. It's not about the music. How could it be about the music? Cake's bad. I'm sorry, they're just shit. And I know a lot of people love Cake. Cake is seriously bad. I think Cake scratches an itch that doesn't exist in the musical realm. It scratches some other itch. And that leads me to my 10th and final band, Phish. Phish. You know it's true. Phish is that rare. I think Phish is the ultimate bad band. And this is why. Phish is the most enduringly frustrating bad band. They've been around a long time. They have a huge following. They're absolutely fucking terrible. They can't write songs. They can't play their instruments. And yet they're still here. And they have a huge cult-like following. I think Phish and Cake are similar, what I just said about Cake. Phish, and again, I've known and deeply cared about people who love Phish. And it's funny, like if you really love and care about someone and then you think you know them and then they tell you they love Phish, you have to have that moment where you're like, okay, something's off here. Their decision making is not right. There is something askew. Like they're brilliant. This person's brilliant and smart and funny and beautiful, but they love Phish. What's wrong here? And there's always something wrong. Oh yeah, if someone says they like Phish, there's something fundamentally psychologically wrong with this person. You can just count on it. Phish is terrible. No one in their right mind would love Phish. And there's a huge audience for these guys. Still, they've become like the new Grateful Dead. Fucking morons follow this band around the earth like they did with Grateful Dead. And Phish stand on stage and they don't perform their instruments. And people just stand in a circle and spin for hours, dazed, totally confused and in a trance. They can't get enough Phish. And part of me wonders if like this Phish phenomenon, it's like I wonder if it's like a social thing, like cake. Like you go to the Phish concert because it's a thing to do. It's like Burning Man. You get a bunch of stinky hippies and you throw them in the desert, and it's not really about the music. It's about this scene. It's people watching. You're watching these other human beings do funny shit. But I'm sorry, for me, if I do that, the music's got to be good. Has to be good. But Phish fans don't seem to care. They don't seem to care that the band has no ability to play their instruments. They can't write a song if their lives depended on it. You know, it's funny, whenever you hear a Phish song that actually makes sense, that actually has a bridge and a chorus and sounds like a coherent song, it's not their song. They're covering Talking Heads, or they're covering Ween or something. They're covering some other band that knows what they're doing. But when you listen to their own compositions, it's the sound of someone spraying diarrhea on the bathroom stall. That is Phish to me. It's the sound of someone locking me in the bathroom, sitting on my lap, and spraying me with diarrhea. That is the sound of Phish. The sound of poop leaving the butt. Yes, I'm making myself laugh right now. I can't help it, okay? Phish is terrible. Phish is the ultimate bad band. They really are. They are the worst. I'm looking at the other bands here. Phish has had the most longevity. It's the most baffling thing to me that Phish is still around. They still have a huge fan base, and they're completely talentless. How does this happen? You have to look, and I'm going to bookend this video. You have to look at the 50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong. Yes, they can. 50 million Phish fans can absolutely be wrong. They can be out of their fucking mind. They can be stupid. They can be idiotic. And they can have no fucking taste whatsoever. And they can have way too much money in their pockets. That's the name that album should be. Not 50 million Elvis fans could be wrong, but 50 million Elvis fans could be fucking stupid and retarded and have no idea what to do with their money. That would be a much more appropriate title. There's my 10 worst bands. Now you can happily type away at the bands I forgot. You please tell me all the things that I didn't mention. I can't fucking wait for it. Tell me all the things I didn't mention. Tell me all the things that I forgot. Tell me how I'm full of shit. Tell me how Phish is awesome. Tell me how Train is great. Tell me how you love the Offspring. Go out of your way to tell me how full of shit I am. I can't fucking wait. Goodbye.